Lou, and listen, hey, you know what? It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that once you've got your show up and running, everything is smooth sailing. The truth is, things can go wrong at any time, whether it's a technical glitch or an unexpected emergency. I've even had my daughter kick down the door once during the middle of a presentation. The thing is this, when something goes awry on set, what do you do? How can you bounce back from a mistake quickly and effortlessly where nobody notices, right? And what are some ways to avoid those mistakes in the first place? In this episode, we're talking about how to deal with problems when they arise, as well as giving tips for avoiding them altogether. We'll also hear from my favorite human being in the world, and she's going to be your favorite human being in the world, Katie Fawkes, and she's going to be sharing her experience troubleshooting live shows. And trust me, she's had her fair share. And she'll give us insight into what she did right and what she did wrong in order to get through the production without missing a beat. Plus, you'll have a behind the scenes look of how I set up Ecamm Live as a remote live producer. So having said that, let's go ahead and get started. 'Cause it's finally, yeah, finally, yeah, yeah. Oh, 'cause it's finally, yeah, finally, yeah. OMG, we've got some amazing, wonderful people already here in the audience. Mike Alton, who just gave a quick shout out saying, hey, you know what? I've seen Stephanie in the middle of a presentation. I kid you not. Yes, my daughter literally did kick down the door, threw her iPad on my lap and was like, it's not working. And I was in the middle of a live video presentation to 800 live viewers for the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference. The most memorable experience captured on camera. It was like that BBC muck-up thing, and it was absolutely hilarious. But hey, since you're here, yes, this is the final episode of Showrunner Secrets from the Set. But let me tell you, we've got so much planned for you today. Katie and I were just cracking up in the background, sharing stories, swapping things about what has happened in our productions, not only for us, but also for our clients. So, hey, what's up, Ecamm fam? I'm Stephanie Lou, and welcome to Showrunner Secrets from the Set. This is where we share strategies on how you can be a successful remote live video producer. So my question for you is, what's the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to you on a live broadcast? I've told you the one about my daughter. The other one that I actually had with a client is that my client turned himself into a potato. Oh, if you don't remember, we talked about that in the very first episode. One of my clients turned himself into a potato, and it was like, dude, you're a potato. Can you unpotato yourself? Can you unspud yourself? So go ahead, hop in there and let us know what your most embarrassing mistake was, right? Something that just happened. And let's also give a shout out to the whole entire crew. We've got Caleb in the audience. Caleb is going to be ferociously just typing on his keyboard, helping me out, managing the comments, and doing all the things because he's absolutely amazing. Oh my goodness. Okay, here's Lance. I live streamed 45 seconds to all of Israel. I was okay. Wilbur's channel, not my personal. Okay. All right. I've actually had a client once who was first discovering live streaming, and she had clicked the button to go live and was like, oh, okay, this is cool. And then she just put the camera on her lap and forgot to end the stream. So that means for the entire time, people were just like looking up her nose. And I was like, client, answer your phone right now. Please stop doing that. All right, so here's another one. I streamed for 10 minutes with my mic off. Oh my God, how many of you have been through that? I've gone through that. We've all been through that. Yay, you're a live streamer. You've done like what all of us has done. Mic fail seems to be like a really, really good one. Okay. Mike Alton had a really funny one. He and I were hanging out with Winnie's son, and for some reason, they were doing something to his internet, and we tried to like still include him on the show as like an audiogram of just like a picture of him, but it was not cute. It was not cute. All right, so hey, welcome to Showrunner Secrets from the Set. I am super excited because I'm going to introduce you to one of my favorite human beings in the world. And when I say this with so much love and endearment. She's like my ride or die, right? Ever since we met, I was just kind of like, this is a thing. We were meant to be, honestly. So Katie Fawkes is the director of marketing at Ecamm, where she has the pleasure of working with live streamers and content creators from a variety of industries and backgrounds. Honestly, whenever I'm doing a live streaming talk, and I say, hey, do you have any case studies? She's like, why, yes, I do. I've worked with this person and that person and this, and she shares so much info. Not only that, though, but she has been working in the field of marketing and social media for the past 15 years. So without further ado, Katie, let's bring you on. How are you, friend?
I'm so good. I love when I get to hang out with you. It's always a sunny day, even though it's technically cloudy here in New England. It's sunny inside.
Every time I see you, it's just like this instant empathy of like, how's your week going? Because we're both like working moms and we're live streaming and doing all the things. And so
Oh,
it's
crazy,
it's
crazy,
so
crazy. Yeah.
yeah. Hey, if you guys have ever reached out to Katie, ever seen her on a show her some love because she's just absolutely amazing. She's the one where she's like, hey, something's going on. Here's how to fix it and all that amazing stuff. So, people that love you right now are VR right? You've got Lance, Vivos, Mike, yes, Mr. Camera Junkie. Hey, so nice to
Hey.
see you. All right, friends. So, let's talk about all the things, Katie, when it comes to remote live video production or just like live streaming in general. What are some things that we can do to avoid pitfalls? What you and I just talked
Oh,
about in the green room was testing your stuff.
testing, right? So we have a habit of typically jumping on a live stream, ideally the day or two in advance, but sometimes, schedules are busy. And so it tends to be 15 or 20 minutes before you're going to go live, right? Which is fine,
Yeah.
if you're going to use that time to test things out. So we were chatting and hanging out behind the scenes before the show went live. And I went crazy pixelated. It might happen again because, hey, why not, right? But my whole camera went pixelated and I was like, that's weird. Everything is plugged in. It was working really well. Turns out that the new awesome software that I have that's backing up my entire computer just turned on and started backing things up. So it's really, really good to do these tests, not just to make sure that you're checking all of your equipment, everything is looking and sounding the way that you want it to. Also, if you have a guest coming on, making sure that they sound and look the way that you want them to, but also just to kind of give it a little bit of time in case something weird pops up. You'd rather have it pop up in the test before you're live or while you're just practicing versus during your actual production. So it's definitely always the best place possible to start is to do a test, push it to its limits. So don't just test the basics, push all the buttons, try all the things, go through your scene, make yourself look a little silly. It's all good. It's all fine. Test it out. And depending on what you're doing or what you're comfortable with, you can do that in record only mode. So you can just
Yeah.
record something that you can play back and watch. I have a closed Facebook group that has my best friend in it. She is not a live streamer. She puts up with all of my nonsense. And I'm like, I'm going live into the group. I'm just pushing all the buttons. And she'll comment and ask questions and be like, what are you wearing? And asks me all the different things. And it gets me comfortable. It makes sure that everything is working. And it lets me know what might go wrong and how to deal with it when I'm not out in front of everyone else, so that if and when it does happen, I'm able to take that action because I know what to do and I know that it might happen. And so I have that level of confidence to keep a calm head and think through what I need to do. So practice and plan and test, right? Those are the
Practice, plan, test. I mean, yeah, there are times too when I'm setting up my stream deck because I'm like, ooh, I got a new sound effect.
yeah.
And then sometimes I find myself, I spaz out on the stream deck and then it mucks up the show. And I'm like, no, don't do
You
that.
moved all the scenes around and then you like get into 10 minutes before the show and you're like, oh, my scenes are all moved around.
Or when Ecamm does like an update and I'm like, what did you do now? Because now I have to like re-add my hotkeys. Yeah, give yourself enough time to test. I really do love the idea of having your own private Facebook group or private channel wherever it is that
Yeah.
you do. Some people will say, you could just go live to your profile and then just make it private, right? But I like having it in a group because then I could say, okay, this is mic 1, this is mic 2, this is camera 1, this is camera 2, and I can make notes to myself. And just like you, I could have a confidant in
Yeah.
there who'd just be like, hey, you know what? You sound great. And the only thing that I would say is that maybe not wear a green shirt because the Ecamm community, they might come after you.
They're going to make you test out that green screen and it's going to go wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's nice getting that other feedback. And for me, as much as it helps with the testing, it just also helps my confidence. It's someone that I trust. I know she's going to literally tell me everything. And I like it. Every time that she says something, I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. All right, I'm going to try that out. I feel better doing that than forcing myself to watch through an entire recorded video. I just have an easier time approaching it that way. So it's whatever you're comfortable with. But yeah, I think that there are some benefits to having a closed group. Plus, you're also testing being live versus just creating a recording, right? Because something could be wrong on the live streaming side, and you wouldn't see that if you were just creating a recorded video while you were testing. So it is, always worth considering. And again, it's going to depend on whether or not you're doing it for yourself, you're doing it for a show that has a huge following, or you're doing it for a client. So everything that we're talking about today, you really need to think about that on each of those different levels, because how you're approaching your own content versus content that's yours, but it's really important, versus content that someone is paying you to create, you should be approaching that entire process really differently.
Yeah. Speaking of leveling up your presenters, if you're doing this for clients, I remember having like an overlay for a client, and let's say there's like the Ecamm logo right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for this particular speaker, anytime they were giving a bad example, they would always point up here, and I was like, stop pointing at the logo.
You're like moving the logo.
Yeah, you start to, I'm gonna move my logo.
Yeah, you're right. Like, you might not realize there are so many dynamics that go into having someone else on screen with you. So if you are bringing a guest on, or multiple guests, doing a test from a technical standpoint, awesome. But doing a test just from a personality standpoint, also really important. Getting a feel for whether or not they talk with their hands, how far back they're going to be in their studio, whether they're the kind of person that wants to give a lot of examples and comes prepared with a presentation. All of these kinds of things you may know about just from having chatted back and forth with them by email or in direct messages, but it's really different when they're on screen and how they're actually going to portray themselves on camera. And some of those things are every bit as important in the troubleshooting process as all of the technical side of things. So really understanding what they're going to say, how comfortable they are, how nervous they might be, all of that is stuff you need to be able to factor into how long you might need with them for a test. Maybe you need multiple tests. Maybe you need to be able to calm them down and answer their questions and make them feel comfortable. Sometimes just talking before you're going live adds that level of comfort to a guest and makes them feel ready to be able to shine. And
That's
you
so
owe
true.
that to your clients, right? Like, you want them to look good.
I feel like most live producers that I've met, man, they knock it out of the park when it comes to knowing the gear and the tech. But there's something also about having that soft skill of knowing how to build rapport with your client, knowing how to build rapport with presenters who just might not be used to being on camera. And so in the previous episode of Showrunner Secrets from the Set, we were talking about things that even our viewers have done, where they'll take a screenshot of the actual setup and be like, hey, Katie, your setup is awesome. So when you show up into the green room, it should look like that. If you're like in the bathroom, I'm like, hold up, wait a second. That is not what we agreed upon.
Yeah, exactly. Or now, Ecamm has a number of new features that make things a little bit easier, but also can be a little bit jarring if you've never done an interview before. So, the ability to talk to your guest while a video clip or while your intro or your countdown is running behind the scenes gives you the chance to say, hey, we're going to be back live in 2 minutes. If you want to run, grab a glass of water, if you need to run for a quick bathroom break, and I've now even taken to, and mostly just because it's fun, but it's great as to be able to even count down the seconds, so someone's running to get water and I'm like, in 5, 4, 3, so they know we're about to start.
They
right?
hear it. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's so smart because so I have these wireless headphones. I can't do the ones that are plugged into the desktop because sometimes I have to like close the door or make sure the dog doesn't come because of the thing. And I would love that if a producer counted down in my ear because you would do the same thing. Like you would be on set, you'd be like in 3.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So
yeah.
I also think it gets them kind of, I don't know, it fires me up. I feel like it fires up some of the guests that we have on. Maybe it freaks out a couple of them, but I think it's a fun way to just be able to give it that feel and for them to know, when those breaks are going to be and when they're not going to be on camera. Because there is nothing worse than, a guest who wants to be able to, they're like, their nose is so itchy, they think that they're going to die. They're just like waiting to scratch their nose, right? And like, so being able to kind of plan out and be able to convey that information to them in a test or right before you go live is also helpful so that they understand like, we're going to do this segment and then this segment. And during this one, you'll be able to, run, grab a glass of water,
get some water, do whatever it is that you have to do.
Yeah.
Honestly, like for the whole crew that's tuning in, I feel like that's also another thing that you have to be really intuitive. Like if you notice that, let's say you have a panel and one of them is just like, they need to move around.
They're like looking at you.
Yeah, right. They're like, if looks could kill, right? They're like, can you please take me off right now? That's your opportunity because in Ecamm, if I wanted to, right, I could definitely just take myself off.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Bring myself back in. Just bring it back and then it works out that way and it makes it a ton of fun. Hey Katie, we have a question from Insight Photos.
Sure.
They're asking, is there a special way you should name this private group? I've named it as the Green Room. I figured that would be a nice name. It's kind of industry wise, but I've heard some pretty fun names too. I've heard like
I don't think it super matters, to be honest with you. I think it's just a matter of making sure that its settings are private and that so at Ecamm, we actually have a couple of testing groups. And this is a case where naming is we probably should have thought through it a little bit better because I think they're just called like Ecamm testing group 1, Ecamm testing group 2. And we always get people asking permission to join. And we're like, oh no, this is literally just like Ken, Glenn, me, Midori, Caleb. Like it's a couple of our, of our internal team members that we're just using to test things out and play around with. I think mine is just called like BFF live chat or something like that. We're not looking for people to find it, right? So it doesn't really matter what it's called. What matters is what the settings are for the group so that that people you don't want in are not also watching your content, unless you don't care, in which case, make it open. And
the other thing that I like about having a private Facebook group is that if I have that presenter who is kind of anxious and has a lot of nerves, we could have it go into the private Facebook group so they could actually see how they're performing. Yeah. And then at that point, they could really get comfortable with it and understand how they're using their gestures with purpose or, are they, so, like even now, since you and I are both here, I'd be like, and this is how big it is. But in my mind, I'm showing my hands, but because it's out of frame, it's like, it loses that impact.
You're like, it's
like, and then I go, yeah. So good. All right,
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think keeping an eye on some of the soft skills is super important and tends to get lost, at least in our community, because we are such gear geeks, right? And so that's the most important thing that we're thinking about. So we probably should talk about the gear since that is something that is important to dive into. I think a lot of it comes down to knowing your gear really well. And if you don't know the gear well, again, spending the time practicing it so that you know it well and that anyone else handling your gear knows it well. If you are the person that moves around, if you're a Stephanie and you're always on the go and you're moving things and playing with things and tweaking things, make sure that you spend a little bit of time before your event to make sure that everything is back where it needs to go. Diana Gladney, who is amazing, had a tip that she gave me probably 2 years ago now, Diana, if I remember correctly, But she was like, she said she uses tape. So she literally, like old school theater practice, she marks things with tape so that her camera is in the right spot, so that her literally everything is marked with tape, so that if and when she does move things around, she knows exactly where to put it back again, so that she doesn't need to worry about messing with settings or things being in the wrong spot or not getting the exact same quality that's what she tested with. So pro tip, right from Diana, definitely if you're the person that moves things around or you're on the go, hybrid events are coming back now, you're trying to do a little bit of both. Mark your space with tape so that you know exactly where everything needs to go, so that you're not messing around with setting everything all up again, because that's just taking time, right? So
Agree. So I love saying that to me as a live streamer, yes to tape and all that other stuff, but also for you as a remote live video producer, tell that to your clients as well. It's like, hey, do you have a post-it note laying around? Can you just like put that right there and mark it right there, so that way you know what's up? That's going to be very helpful.
yeah, definitely. And then I would say the next thing that everyone knows but doesn't probably give as much credit as it deserves is that when it comes to producing live video content, the biggest pain point is going to be the internet. The biggest pain point is going to be the internet, right? So, like, any of the different challenges that you're going to face are going to derive from how good your internet connection is, how many other people are sitting on your internet connection, whether or not it's wired or wireless, whether or not you are residential or business internet connection. All of these different things come into a different priority level as far as internet goes. Anything could happen. Have a backup plan, have a contingency plan. If it's just you and you're going live, it's probably fine to stop, to apologize, to reschedule, to put up a replay video instead. Any of those things your viewers are absolutely going to understand. If it's a paying client, you need to have a backup. You need to have backup internet. You need to spend the money and have a backup solution for if and when something wonky happens with the expensive internet that you're paying for and everything goes down. So, whatever that means, do your research, take a look. There's lots of options out there, but don't go into an event that you are relying on for your credibility and to look good in front of your clients. That's important for everyone without having some kind of backup. It's hugely, hugely important.
That's absolutely important. I think that's something that most clients don't even take into consideration as well. They just think, oh, wow, you've got fancy overlays. Oh, you could do scenes. Yeah. And then they miss that last piece where it's like, but do you also have backup internet just in case? Do you have a contingency plan? Because if this is our annual fundraiser and we're expecting to reach X amount of dollars, because this is the only virtual event that we can afford for this year for our nonprofit, I need to know that you'll be able to take us from beginning, middle to end and have a safety net for us. So for those of you that are out there and are pitching, include that contingency plan into your pitch deck. The pitch deck, PS, by the way, I think we actually covered that maybe in episode 2, if I recall off the top of my head. Yeah, that's going to be a good one. Let's see. We have some M1 Mac Mini friends in the background. Yes, for sure. I finally got to the point where I was like, my iMac, which I've always used for work and all the things, is now just the workhorse. But the Mac Mini M1 is like, that's it. It's clean. Whatever it is that I have to bring over there, I will absolutely bring it over there. Cool. Gaff tape. Everyone's like, gaff tape, wire everything, tape stuff down for sure. That's going to be absolutely helpful. Right.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, and I suppose we could say too, as far as contingency plans go, probably not, depending on the size of your event and how important it is to you and how important it is to your clients, having a backup for most of your gear, not a bad idea.
Having backups of your backups. I remember Doc and I made a joke about this where we're like, dude, I got backups on backups on backups. Like, if this mic don't work, then I got this mic. But at least I have something. Like, I feel like the mic that I have now, I will have 5 different backups before I will ever use an internal mic. I could do a lav, I could do a shotgun,
Yeah.
all the things for sure.
Handbag filled with mics, my friends. Get
I know.
your handbag, fill it up with
It should be
microphones.
like stocking stuffers, right? Hey, Mother's Day is just around the corner. Hey,
Yep.
right?
Hey, hey.
Yeah, just I think
Yeah.
anyone like an extra lav mic every now and then, it just makes it super duper helpful to have for sure. Let's see
Yeah.
here. Oh, you know what? Here's Joel. Joel saying, great point. If you're the reason a high ticket event didn't happen, it can lead to repercussions for sure. Ooh, Joel, I've actually been a part of an event but I was just a social media strategist, but someone else was handling the live streaming. And for this particular event, as they were testing it live on the client's channel, right?
Ooh.
But they were testing with copyrighted material on YouTube.
Oh.
I know. Oh my god. And so right after the event, the channel could no longer live stream whatsoever because they had all these strikes against them. And so coming in, I was like, oh, and they did this and this and this. And they had already planned, like, we wanted to do another fundraiser, but they couldn't because that feature was completely pulled for them because another live streaming event did it. So Joel is absolutely correct. For clients, if you're hiring a remote live producer, they need to know the ins and outs of every single platform, not just of the tech, but make sure that they're not, broadcasting copyrighted music. You guys should probably have this in your contracts, like honestly, right?
Good contract, great checklist, lots of plans, lots of contingency plans, right? Stephanie's
Lots
been
of
preaching this
CYA.
all the way through this series. Really, like, if you are expecting to do this as a business and you're taking on clients, you are the one that is going to be responsible. It is on your shoulders to make sure that you have that plan all the way through, because really, when everything goes wrong, you're the one that they're going to be coming back to, right? You're going to be the one expected to be able to think on your feet, remain calm, activate against all of those contingency plans and make sure that the show goes on. That's why they're bringing someone like you on. So it's really
Yeah.
important to have
You
that.
know,
Know that, post it.
I feel like that should be like a bonus episode because we talked about everything about like how to pitch clients and whatnot, but we should also include something about how to create your contingency plan and how to be in the right mindset. Because if you are like flustered or angry that so and so didn't do their part, that is not a resourceful state of mind to be in when you're working with the client. Like they're looking at you for solutions, and so you need to have like, okay, back up, come back up, come back up.
Yeah.
Here's a
Yeah.
question from Mike Alton. He's saying, do you still recommend a live view when remote streaming? You know,
Question.
I I tested one before, Mike, and it didn't work for me. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. I'm just saying that for where I was when I tested it, because I wanted to test it before a real event, um, they were asking me if I was in like the desert or some really random off place, and I was like, no, I'm just in Balboa Park, and the only thing that could possibly be interfering is maybe like the planes going overhead, but it didn't work out for me. But I do know that for those that have gone to like VidCon or social media marketing world, where conferences where Wi-Fi is just really really tough, like live view has saved them. Do you have any experience with that?
I
No.
don't, so I can't answer this question. I've talked with a LiveU team before, and so I generally know how it works and have heard good things about it, but haven't tested it myself, so can't speak to that
Yeah.
one.
Don't let anyone in on your production network. That's a good one. I remember when I was doing a live stream with like eight cameras, right? And it was only solely dedicated for that event. I was like, everyone else, the HR admin, the front, like the intern, do not be. You need to be on some other system right now, for sure. Okay. Cool. Mike says that he could definitely account for how much gear I tote around. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Oh,
Oh,
Shalalala is saying preach
yeah.
on batteries, memory cards in reserve.
Yeah.
So if you're not using a dummy battery for your camera or your presenters aren't, have backups, like one that's
Yeah. There's
charged, one's that's
yeah.
um, charging, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, have as many backups as you can afford,
Possible.
or to as to the size, again, the size of the event and the amount of risk that you see in it. It is really embarrassing, guys, as someone that has had this happen more than once. There's nothing more embarrassing than, having a battery in your camera and it's not a dummy battery and you're halfway through a show and the battery just dies and you freeze like this on the screen, and then you have to behind the scenes be like, oh, nothing to see here. We're just going to move over to a different camera. It is really humiliating when it's just you. So it's absolutely humiliating and not great at all if it's for a client. So definitely worth getting dummy batteries and backup batteries, and making sure that you do a quick tour of the space that you're going to be in if it's not a space that you're familiar with, to make sure that there are outlets close by if you're using a dummy battery, or make sure that the plan that you have for how the entire production is going to be set up is going to work in the space that you're in, not just from a size perspective, but where outlets are located, where lights are located, how the lights are, where the windows are, all of the different perspectives that are going to go into how good your broadcast is going to look is really important. How quiet a space is it? Is it right below a daycare? Is it all of the different things that you need to know if you are doing an event where you're out in a different space.
Yeah, one thing that being on everyone else's shows, we always talk a lot about like gear, but it's not often that you hear us talk about gaff tape or even sandbags to make sure that our tripods don't tip over. Like with all like with all the lighting that we have, like we make sure it doesn't fall over. And I say this with love because one of our dear friends had a green screen fall on her, and so like, hey, the sandbag would have worked out for that. That would have been great. All right, so let's see here. Yeah, Joel is saying sounds like also should discuss limitations and protections with a real lawyer before taking on that sort of gig. Yep.
Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, something else that we wanted to also talk to you about is okay, so we've talked about having a private Facebook group, testing with clients, knowing that you have the hard skills to understand what gear you have, and having the soft skills to put your client at ease. Not only that though, but if you do decide to get new stuff, because I don't know how many of you watch doc shows, but I'm like, what are you selling now? Like, okay, I need to get a Rodecaster Pro. Okay, what do I got to get, right?
If you're in the Ecamm Live community and you have been tricked
Period.
into buying the coolest, newest things, then yeah, definitely you want to give a little bit of time to get those practice with them, be comfortable with them before you use them, right?
Exactly. So let's also talk about like, what do you do when you encounter an issue? I'm the type of person where if I run into any issues with Ecamm whatsoever, I talk to someone that I know can make a difference. And for me, what that basically means is I'm sending in a support ticket. Like that's what I'm going to do. And I think just because I come from a tech background, I'm used to the fact that if I'm going to send in a ticket, I'm going to tell you what kind of machine I'm working on, what's my internet upload speed, what version of Ecamm I have, and if I could screencast of like, hey, this is what I'm doing, I'm going to send as much info as possible.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to bury the lead. And I say this with love because some people will just give you like, here's my Harry Potter series of why my Ecamm isn't working. And it's like, bullet points, please.
Yeah.
And then you could just knock it out. Is there anything else that you would add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're watching this and you're an Ecamm Live user, the best way, honestly, is to open up Ecamm Live, to click on the help menu at the very top, which no one pays any attention to because they're like,
we're gonna do it right now.
And and I know that all of you out here live and breathe in our community and are constantly asking questions and engaging with each other, and you probably have your people that you ask questions to, which is all fine. But if something technically goes wrong, or you have a question about the tech and you really want to be able to get help and answers, go into the app, click help, and click contact support. You can also reach us on our website. In the bottom right-hand corner, there's an orange bubble. You click that and you can chat with someone. Or you can email supportdesk@ecamm2ms.com. Those are the 3 ways to reach us. But like Stephanie said, really, if something goes wrong where it seems like it's a technical issue, a guest can't connect in, and and you walk them through things and it's just not working, it seems weird to you, you don't understand why, or you've messed around with your mic and the sound isn't coming out of the other side, and you've tried to talk it through, you tried a bit of troubleshooting, and something's just not seeming right. That's the point where you do want to get in touch with support, because it could be something that's happening. Maybe you're on an older version, you didn't realize you needed to update. There was a bug that we fixed. Anything could have happened, and it's all information that we as a team need to know, because other users may be experiencing a similar issue. There might be an outage somewhere. Something might have happened that we need to know about. So any of those kinds of things, absolutely submit a ticket, give us as much information as you can that's relevant to what is happening. Screenshots are really helpful. If you're doing
I love it when you break it down in steps. It's like, first I did this. It's 1 dot. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. 2 dot. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, that's always helpful.
Yeah, specs are helpful. Whether what kind of computer you're on, certainly helpful. What kind of internet you're using. Are you using a wired connection, a wireless connection? Did you take a look at what the speed test is, what your speeds are? All of that kind of information is really helpful for us to be able to diagnose what is happening and why, and get you back up running as quickly as possible. If you just have a general question and you're like, I'm testing around, I keep hearing this echo. I know it's something stupid that I'm doing. I know it's something crazy that my guest is doing. Those kinds of questions, absolutely just drop those into the community. The whole group, there are 15,000 users in there, is the most active community I have ever seen.
Whoops.
They're there to help you.
Sorry, that was me.
Oh, I love it.
Go ahead.
So, absolutely swing on into the community, Ecamm Live community on Facebook. Anyone can be there, ask questions, post videos, share examples of what you're seeing. If it's something that if it's something that the community can help you with. So, these are other users. These are people from a variety of different industries and backgrounds who are happy to help, say maybe you want to be putting in headphones for this particular thing, or I also have a Rodecaster Pro, and this is how you get it set up so that you run successfully. Any of those kinds of questions, absolutely in the community. If it's something where you think there's something going wrong with the app, please let us know by filing a support ticket. So that's the difference, I would say, between the two of them. You're going to get pretty quick and immediate help either way. So, definitely do a little bit of self troubleshooting and diagnosis, and play around with it a bit and say to yourself, is this something where I think there's something going wrong with the app, or something that I'm doing with the app? Or is it something where I just need to learn a little bit more on how to get set up with a particular piece of gear, or, best practices for how to do something, or I want someone's advice on, what I should buy or what I should do? Then that's a great place for being in the community. Yay, Maggie. I know all of our t-shirts are arriving today, so hopefully you're all sporting your t-shirts. I've been wearing mine for days, so I finally just changed. It was embarrassing. It was like 10 days in a row of just nonstop Ecamm t-shirts.
Yeah, what I will also say is so helpful about the group is that the search functionality isn't always the best, especially on Facebook, but I do find that it's helpful. Sometimes I'll just have to, if it's Rodecaster Pro, I've noticed that some users will just abbreviate it, RCP or whatever. So I'm like, oh, okay. And sometimes just going through the comments of how people do their setups is always helpful. So yeah, those are the best ways, are definitely how to get help, how to troubleshoot. I will say, as soon as I know Caleb and Katie, Midori, and Ken and Glenn, I was like, Facebook message, but don't. Yeah.
We're pretty accessible. And there are, I will say that you all know, because many of you watch a number of our shows, that there are a ton of really amazing experts out there, including Stephanie, who are doing this on a regular basis. And so, there's content available. For the most part, they're answering questions that appear on the videos or within the community. So if there's specific questions, or you want to do a test, that's a great place to ask in the community, to say hey, I want to do a test before I bring a guest on, with someone I trust here in the community, so that you don't, so that you don't maybe look silly, or, it's the first time you're bringing on an interview guest. That's a great place to just be like, here's my interview link. Can someone join and answer a couple of questions and let me walk you through what I'm doing? It's a good place to practice too, if you don't have a private group, or you want someone that's going to jump on with. There's always someone that's like, I'll jump on. I also want to test out something.
I think I forget his last name, but I do find Daniel kind of like hops in there
Yep.
every now and then. I've seen Lemuel do that, and yeah, it's
Yep.
just such a supportive community. That's what I absolutely love about the crew is that they'll hop in there and they'll do some things. Shout out to this Facebook user who's saying, "Sounds like this is all too dangerous. I'll just stick to podcasting in my closet."
I see you. I see you. I hear that.
I feel you.
My team is constantly laughing at me because during the day when we're not doing live broadcasts, I'm like, can I just call you? Can we just do a Slack voice call? Like, I just want to drink my coffee and know that, like, if I look down, I'm not ignoring you. I just want to be able to. So I hear you. You know, I think podcasting, there's a ton of really cool options out there for that too. So it is. This is especially what Stephanie is doing when it comes to like taking on clients and really be building these really large, you know, live productions. It's a specific use case. It's a specific type of
Yeah.
person that's
I
going to
mean,
want to do it.
honestly, like to be like very frank with you, when it comes to these events, I'm probably still rehearsing maybe like a week to 2 weeks in advance of just like muscle memory, committing to like where I want the numbers to be and keep running the script basically through my head. I find that that's always going to be helpful, but I'm constantly like even now. So like I think someone's cutting the grass outside, but there's only so much I could do about it, you know. The show's going to continue, but
Yeah.
oh well. All right, so other things to talk about is that what do you do when you have technical issues that happen? And so a couple of us have actually made jokes where we'll have an episode where we'll just have like a scene where it's like somebody needs to feed the hamster, right? Or like, sorry, my daughter needs a number two right now. But I'll just have like you know, like a funny graphic to put on there, or maybe even just kind of
Yep.
like let's say like a 30-second sponsor reel that pushes through just to give me an extra 30 seconds while I'm on the back channel, whether it's on WhatsApp or whatever, just to be like, what's going on? Where's the next person? What are some things that you've seen, Katie?
Yeah, all kinds of those things. I mean, I think always having like this broad, you know, we'll be back in a minute kind of graphics or videos or, you know, little animations that you can put up on screen if something happens. I mean, honestly, again, it really depends on the size of the show. So, you know, if you're a, you know, your viewers better than everyone else. I mean, I mean, Luria is a great example of this, where she just rolls with the punches. If something goes wrong, she's like, let's work it through all together, right? And she, you know, and
Yeah.
she's there and people are learning alongside with her. And they, you know, I don't think I've ever seen anyone get angry at her about it. Or she's like, we're gonna do a dance break with our guest while I fix this thing. You know, so a lot of it comes down to how prepared you are and also how calm and how you deal with things when they come up. So, you know, the advice that I would give all of you is having those couple little cards or, you know, scenes ready to go if something goes wrong, to help you kind of take a couple of minutes and calm down.
Yep.
However, you can kind of let it roll off you as best as you possibly can. Things go wrong all the time in live video. That's what makes it engaging in many ways. It's those moments where someone is a potato or a cat. It's those moments where, you know, a kid knocks down everything in the background. Those are the memorable moments. So I know that's what everyone is terrified about happening. But really, in many ways, it's those kinds of moments and how you deal with them and how you
Yep.
roll through that's going to make or break, and has the potential really to be incredibly positive instead of really negative. So it comes down to, is your content the kind of content where you could just stay live and talk it through?
Mm-hmm.
Know when to call it, right? So like you know, if your camera's going crazy and you are able to put up an image of you and just talk behind you, that might be fine for your audience.
Yeah.
If they can't hear you, that's probably a problem. So you might want to, you know, call that, shut down the broadcast, and be able to put up a message or reschedule to a different time. If you don't have a way to be able to switch over to a backup plan, you know, yeah, just really know that something is going to go wrong at some point in your live streaming career, probably multiple times. So being able to think through, like, knowing at the back of your mind what you're going to do for each different kind of situation that's going to come up. And then it's just a matter of, you know, being like, oh, okay, well, I know that when my video goes crazy, I'm just going to switch over to audio only. I know that when, you know, everything's falling down around me, I'm just going to switch over to my little video clip and let that play while I type a message to my, you know, to my audience and letting them know what's going on, or talk to someone behind the scenes to get it sorted out. keep calm is the number one thing.
Keep
Keep
calm,
calm.
carry on.
Yep.
Yeah, one of my favorite sayings having worked at the agency was like, be like a duck, where you're calm on top, but you're paddling like crazy in the, in
Yeah.
the water.
Yeah.
But I always tell clients too, when we're developing the run of show, I'm like, bear in mind that some things may happen. And so it's always nice to have an MC or a host who could
Mhm.
hop in and just ad lib for like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
couple of minutes. And it
Hmm.
always works out because I did a 13-hour live video broadcast, and one of the guests was doing something. I don't know. She was MIA. And so we had actually hired a newscaster who knows how to be on air, how to fill in the gap and just, spread things out a little bit to still keep an audience engaged. And I found that to be extremely helpful. Just tell them, like,
Hmm.
whether you hire someone or it's someone on your team who has the gift of gab, that's really what's going to help, because there's only so many times that you could keep playing like a 30-second clip. You're like, okay, I've seen this like 10 times. I think, what is
Exactly.
going
You need
on?
to be like, over to you, Stephanie.
I'm like, and
And
back to you, Katie.
yeah, exactly, right? Having a team makes a difference. Having moderators that are in the chat, if you're live on a platform like YouTube, for example, that can say, that if you were to just go to like a static image with music, would be able to say like, hey, this is what's going on. Stephanie and Katie will be right back. Hang in there, dance some
Yeah,
water break for everyone. Go grab some water. Having some extra people that are there to help support you can go a really long
backups on
way. So
backups. That's for sure.
backups on backups, and keeping calm. Those as best
And
as you can. It's
so,
hard, but it's the truth.
yeah. And then speaking of backups, if you're working with presenters, like, so I'm speaking at the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference next week, and it's funny because they had reached out and they said, Stephanie, just in case, because your session is live, can you give us a recording? And I was like, look at you being a good producer,
Right? Yes,
right?
that's a
Yeah.
great point. Yeah, yeah. If you're doing a larger event, having a recorded version of each of those sessions goes a really long way, and also helps make your presenters feel more comfortable as well. It gives them extra. It forces them to practice it, and
Yes.
gives them the confidence that they know that if anything is to go wrong, they have that extra copy. So I've been in that position before as a presenter where I was like, I have to spend this extra time making this video. And then once I had it, the entire time I was like, okay, well, if my internet fails, or like, my kids run in, or I'm like really sick that morning, like there is that feeling of confidence that it's okay. I can still deliver the content and the value, even if everything goes wrong. So yeah, it's a really smart
Yeah.
idea. And it should be a pretty low lift ask, since someone is already already putting together the work to put together that presentation. It gives them some extra practice.
That's very true. Let's also talk about. See, look, the cleaner's coming by because he's like,
That's
ooh,
our, it's
we got.
it's pouring rain here in New England, like thunderstorm, epic wind and rain. So anything can
Well,
happen, guys. If I disappear, it's because the power went out.
I just imagine Thor just like coming
It
down.
is. It's really intense. It's really
All
intense right now.
right. Okay, so then the other thing is have a backup platform. As much as I love Ecamm,
Yeah.
you know, I know that still as a live streamer, if anything ever happens, right, I am still well versed. Like, I still know OBS Studio. I've always described it as like the IKEA of live streaming, but that will still always be like my first love, right? And
Yeah.
so if I needed to, I could still take the same scenes and push it over and just
Yep.
run it through. If it's not that, then I'm probably going to use like Restream just because it's going to be easier. It may not be as cute as far as like my animated this and animated that, but I could still see comments coming in, right? Because
Yeah.
that's the one piece that I usually miss out on with OBS, which is why I made the jump over to Ecamm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think also having that in your explanation to clients, what happens if, right? How are you
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
to do this?
Exactly. Yeah, and again, it depends again on like how big an event is it, but yeah, for sure, having some level of familiarity with a different platform is going to go a long way. And OBS is free, so you may spend a little bit of extra time getting up and running. Maybe you're not the best at it, but if you're able to make a quick switch over to it if something goes wrong or you're not able to get on with Ecamm, for sure. if it's a smaller, if it's a smaller thing, being able to switch over and running recorded videos instead of live videos, also a good idea. It just really depends on whatever the size of your event is, but having some level of comfort with a different platform is really important if you're going to be doing this on a regular basis, and if there's a lot riding on it, because anything could happen, unfortunately, in this day and age. You never know. So definitely always worth. Knowledge is power in this particular case, and having the edge on any of your competitors and being able to keep up and running quickly if anything goes wrong is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what else would you want to cover? Is there anything else, or should I show them my setup now?
Yeah, let's dive into your setup.
Okay, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go into live demo mode. And that you guys should be able to see everything. So then you should be able to see all my stuff. Can you see it on your end?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So one of the things this was the game changer for me when it came from moving from OBS over to Ecamm, is that I could create all these different scenes. So just for this show alone, keep in mind, this show usually runs for like an hour. This one's usually an hour. For Lights Camera Live, it's probably like about 45 minutes up to an hour. But I have all of my different scenes over here. So I usually have like a video intro. We'll do one for events where it's like the sponsors that generally play over there. This is the one that I'm looking at. And so then I'll have like the solo scene. Then it has all the different overlays that I have here. Things that I always mess around with is if I'm working in Ecamm for a next event, I make sure to delete all the previous comments because Ecamm will keep the previous one. So if I leave the one where if I leave, something funny, someone said poop happens. Like if that was like still in here, I wouldn't want that to accidentally show up in a stream.
Yeah.
I have Duel, the storyboards, share screens. All of this stuff is already pre-built before I go live. So according to that run of show, and we've talked about this in previous episodes as well, I'll have like the run of show, and then I'll have it all built into here. Things with sound levels, I generally have kind this morning. She's just like, your mic sounds a little hot. And I was like, really? Why? And then I realized when I had done an event, I'd moved my mic, and so the gain was like kicked up so hot. And so I was like, okay, well, we'll fix that. And then I have all of my overlays over here as well. And, this is literally how I have it. And then I have it connected over into an iCan teleprompter so I could see you guys, but I could also see my windows and I could hear, what's going on outside, right? And that works out. But this is pretty much my whole setup. And then if I show my Stream Deck, can you see this too?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, great. My Stream Deck is crazy. So it's not as cute. I don't customize it like Loria where she has like special thumbnails on top of thumbnails. But I do have, these are my key lights, LCLs for Lights Camera Live. I have Showrunner, and then this is usually like if I'm doing a presentation. But for Showrunner, you could see that once I go into the folder, I already have certain things in here and the specific sounds that I want. And so my Stream Deck is usually like right here where my hand is. And it's easy for me because I know where I want things to be. Something that's really helpful for me too was before I even had a Stream Deck, I would use clear transparency tape, like just regular tape, and I would just put it on, like where I would want my hotkey to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you're coming tactile, the touch. Yeah.
Yeah, just the touch and the feel of it. And be like, oh, that's where it is, and I could hit it, and then I knew that's how it was going to transition. So,
yeah,
this has been game changer for me. It was something that I noticed changed, Katie, was that so I would always have folders for each show. So for those of you who don't know, I have like 4 different shows. But what I used to do is I would just move LCL to the top, and then it would take over the hotkeys. But I noticed that with the most recent update, it lost it, and I was like, "What?" And
well, so now you can program your own hotkeys for everything. So some of the hotkey things that you are used to, hotkey features, if you will, have changed up for the ability for you to program them. But we should pay attention because maybe there's some additional tweaks that we can make to make it a little bit easier for everyone that is used to using them a different way.
Yeah, because I would just say because for me, so if I were to show you LCL, Lights Camera Live, it's the same thing too. So I'm going to move this Ecamm Live program over. But intro, solo, Iron Man. Apparently, I did something with Iron Man. Trailer, math, restream, website, intro, and all
Yeah.
that other stuff. The other thing that I don't have on here, everyone, is that sometimes I would even just create a folder where I know it's going to be like my favorites, and I would call it like my default.
Yeah. Yeah. I have
And
a default folder on mine. Yeah.
yeah, and so it's my catch-all. I don't want to delete the scene,
Yeah.
right? I just want to like hide it in a folder for now, so when I need it, I could always put it back. Because there's nothing like removing a scene and then having to rebuild it,
Yeah.
or Ecamm saying like file not found, and you're like, well, damn it, I have the iMac and the Mac, like where is it?
Oh, so true. And I do want to mention, because I see here in the comments that Mike shouted this out, that a really cool feature and something that is a little bit hidden is the fact that you can actually export all of your scenes and
Yes.
send them to someone else. So if you're running a production and you're the person that's built out all the scenes in Ecamm Live, but you have someone on set, on site, that is helping to actually run the show for you, in this case, Mike was saying that you exported your MC scene so he could guest produce, and it was killer, right? Like, so you put all the work in, you send it out, Mike runs it on the other side, and then he doesn't have to worry about all the time in actually building it and prepping it. He can flow through all the content exactly how you planned it out, right? So scenes are important for planning and really thinking through your production and being able to flow through it really smoothly as your run of show. But
Yeah.
it's also a really great way if you have a team and multiple users that are running on Ecamm, you're able to just send that all over and you're ready to go. So certainly something to think about if you are getting into larger productions or growing a team and are using Ecamm at your center.
For sure. I'm laughing to myself because I remember that one where I needed his help. I was like, I'm still on the plane. I'm delayed. I need you to run this for me. Yeah, it was so cool. So if I wanted to, I could just pull this scene, drag it over, and there's my scene. I would just
Yep.
put it into a zip file, send it over. It's funny because I do feel like most people don't know this, because when I told them that I was transferring Ecamm from the iMac over to the Mac M1 Mini, they're like, "Oh, that's going to take you forever." I was like, "Actually, no. I just take the scenes and I just moved it over, and then boom, there it is."
Yeah, absolutely. If you're in a bind, you can panic, export all your scenes right over to your best friend, coworker, colleague, whoever you have on the other side that can help save the day. So definitely
For
a cool feature.
sure. Okay, so
Cool
that
feature.
is, I mean, there's so much stuff in here, but even I would say as a remote live video producer, even when I'm having meetings with clients, I do show them all the different scenes. I'm like, and so you'll notice that it lines up with whatever it is. So if you're going to try to surprise me the day before, right,
Yeah.
let me know, or at least I'll have like a little backup here of demo things, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's great even going through your scenes, even if you're in live demo mode as well, in advance during a test with just guests that you're bringing on, right? So be like,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to start with the intro video, and then we're going to move into just me, and I'm going to give my intro, and then we're going to bring you on. Giving
Yeah.
them that level of comfort, like we spoke about at the beginning of the show, is also really important. So.
We got a super chat. I've never, like, what? That's the first time I've ever received a super chat. It's not on my channel, I think. I think it's probably on yours. But that's
We'll
cool.
send it
So,
out. We'll send it through right to you.
well, oh, here's something else that I wanted to share with you. I'm gonna go back into live demo mode, because I want you guys I've had people ask me this, Katie, where they're like, how does Stephanie know what to talk about? I have my show flow right here.
Yeah.
And so I know what it is that I'm going to say when I have like my run of show
Yep.
and all the things. And so I put it right dead in the center, because I did notice at one point when I had it like over here, and then I was like, I could see it. I had to do a video for Caleb, and I was like, oh, darn. So I would just move it right over here, and then it works perfectly. But that's generally how I have it. Having this whole teleprompter thing, PS by the way, is like a complete game changer. When we
Yeah.
talk about like being a part of the Ecamm fam, and then all of a sudden you discover gear and you're buying stuff, I was like, this was totally worth it for me in what I do, for sure.
Sorry, not sorry. It's how
No,
it
it
goes.
works.
Yeah, we have one in the office, and when I'm there, I'm like, oh, this is so nice. But also, I have to say, at least, I'm not running the level of productions that you are, but for me, I've actually gotten pretty comfortable with planning out all my content. I literally sketch it out on a notepad, paper and pen, and then I drop it into scenes. And I just use each of the scenes to have some kind of visual reminder in it, whether it's like literally the text written on the screen or like a little image that reminds me of how it's going to flow through. And all of my talking points are kind of like hidden in there in visual cues so that I know I don't do anything, because I'm really bad at, I'll just read it and then I sound terrible and it's really canned. So if I can get out of that phase, then I'm able to deliver better content without missing any of the important talking points that I need. So if you're not yet at a point where you can buy a teleprompter or it doesn't make sense for your business, you can definitely do what I do and use scenes to just be able to give yourself those reminders as you flow, even how you name the scenes. So like, the next point that you're going to talk about teleprompters, and you're like, okay, I got it. Next scene, teleprompter scene, I'm in. So yeah, definitely teleprompters are awesome, and they do make a huge difference if you're doing a lot of presenting or you're running a lot of different productions. But you can start small and work your way up to that as well.
For sure. All right, so here's something else that I wanted to share with you. Now I'm looking over at my other screen. Something that we wanted to talk about was, let's see, is the Ecamm showrunner secrets from this set. So as we said, this has been a 6-part mini series, and we've had so much content that we've been sharing with you. And so if you want all the showrunner extras, like the pricing calculator, remember that, Katie? We had the pricing calculator. We also had the storyboard template, like all the things, right? The whole entire crew has already put this together for you, so you get all the showrunner extras. If you're one of those where you've been thinking about Ecamm and you haven't made the jump yet, now is the time to go over there and try Ecamm Live for free. There's the highlight reel. There's all the different things that are on here. You could always catch the replays, which, P.S., by the way, I think, Katie, you're putting together the show notes for all of those now, right?
Yeah, so we have up on the blog, we're almost caught up. Obviously, this episode is not up yet, but all of the other past episodes are on our blog. So we will be adding the links to this page, but you can always find it ecamm.com/blog.
Correct.
All the stuff's there. We have tons of other shows as well. So once you've powered through this one, power through some of the other ones. They're pretty awesome. But yeah, let us know. Gail did a really great job pulling this page together to just make it really easy to find everything in one spot. So it's all here for you, and it looks great.
Yes, and let me try something else. I want to see if I can make this work out. Let's do this. So yeah, this is like the only reason why I use the iMac now is so I could NDI over into the Mac Mini. No, I'm kidding. I love you. Don't. You are blessed, okay? You've taken me very far in my career. But here's something that I wanted to share with you is the Ecamm merch shop. Let's talk about like what's in here, like what's good, Katie.
Oh my goodness. Okay, you guys. So we just changed over our merch. We're using an amazing company called Press and Sew. It's run by the Nixons. They are some of my favorite people. They are just so incredible, and they care about our community. They're part of our community. So we have our Ecamm fam shirts. These were designed by Marshall Fawkes. He is brilliant. Please check out these shirts. They're amazing. We have some new lightweight hoodies. So if you are wanting a hoodie and you're in a part of the world that's about to get warm and hot, lightweight hoodies are your way to go. My favorite right now is the You're on Mute mug. I'm obsessed with it. So it's below the hats at the bottom.
I'm like, where is
You're on Mute. Go up a little bit. There it is.
Oh my God.
So super fun. It's my new favorite mug. I know. I still love my original, but this one is pretty great.
Okay.
And it's just a lot of fun.
Stop. You know what?
Yeah.
I would love to have a mug that would say muted. So that way when I'm drinking my coffee, it would tell people that I'm muted. Right? Because I can't talk to you. Have you ever had that when people are trying to talk to you and I'm like, I'm obviously drinking. I'm muted right now. You know?
Okay, we'll have to make one that just says like showrunner muted.
Yeah, muted. Yeah. And then it's like, and then the other side, I would just be like, I don't know. We'll have to think about that. But yeah.
It's super fun.
So, and the reason for that is because when I was working at an agency, it was a joke. Oh my God, I don't think I've ever told this to anyone on air before, but because it's Katie and you guys, I'm going to tell you. And so my best friend and I, we worked at an agency, and sometimes we would be in meetings and our boss would say like really, really like weird things. And so what we did was at the very bottom of our cup. We took like a Sharpie and I wrote hashtag awkward. And so,
It was like,
yes! So whenever he would say something weird, I would just look at him and I'd be like, awkward.
so that's where. So okay, all right, Sylvia. I know that you're probably watching this because you're fantastic. So we're gonna we're gonna add into the store for Stephanie and all of us who absolutely need this. Just a plain mug, nothing on it, and on the bottom it says muted. And then when you're
Yes.
drinking it, then it absolutely says. So there you go. We'll have to add that in, and we are always, always taking suggestions for fun new merch and swag. These are the things that we give away in our community often, and you can always grab them for yourself at the store. But I know that we've had an ask for pillows, for prop background pillows, so that is on the list. Sylvia, I know, she's fantastic. The press and sew, they are amazing.
So,
And so
okay. And then
yeah, backpacks, water bottles, hats. We're right
this
now we're in the
cracked
middle
me
of.
up. I remember when you first showed this to me, and I was like, you have Ken and Glenn bubble sticker.
Oh, we're so proud of this. The story behind this is that Ken and Glenn a while back commissioned a website, and at the time it was really trendy to have like little cartoon versions, like cartoon people on your website. And so they had
Mm-hmm.
this entire website made, and they ended up just not. It wasn't a good fit for the company. But the cartoon characters of Ken and Glenn are my absolute favorite thing. They are the like every time that they call me, that's their little icon. We like send it to each other randomly just as a joke, and they were just too amazingly fun to not have in sticker form. So here they are in sticker form. You can get them in a variety of sizes.
That is so cute.
Definitely super fun. And then Ecamm Live Academy with Adrian is running this week, so there's a whole bunch of specific fun gear at the bottom there that is all dedicated to all of our friends who are taking the academy right now, or have taken it in the past. So lots of fun swag and merch that are always available for you, and always happy to take ideas.
Yay. Awesome. Definitely the muted one. I would absolutely love that. I think that would just be like, heck yeah. Let's do that for sure.
I love it. I know, and I've had times where I didn't have my mug yet, and I had times where I was on like calls and things, and someone was on mute, and I was like, oh, I just want my mug to be able to like subtly raise it up and be like, you're on mute.
That's funny. Yeah, I could totally see that. That's so good.
Yeah.
All right, crew. My gosh. All right, wow. Katie, it's the final episode. We did it. We covered so much ground.
You did it. Thank you so much for taking all the time to bring all this content to life for us. And I'm not saying goodbye, because we work on a ton of projects. So more to come.
Oh yeah.
More to come, guys, but
so many more. Here's our suspense. What's coming out? We're gonna have mugs and all the things, and
mugs and more content to come. But I love the idea of mini series, and they've done really well for us, because I think it's a great way to be able to get all of that actual content on a particular topic out to everyone that needs it. So if you have any ideas for other topics that we should dive deep into, definitely let us know. I agree with Mike. I think it's been a really terrific series. I've learned a ton, so it's been great.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's been good. So with that said, crew, again, if you want to see all the show notes, my husband was like, that's a wrap, and he just shut the door. Thanks, babe.
It's time, guys.
He's like, come on now, I gotta go to the garage. Head on over to ecamm.club/showrunner. We will have Caleb in the comments. He's going to throw that in the comments for you, and that way you guys can go and find it. Here, I'll actually type it in there. But yeah, there it is. ecamm.tv/showrunner. That will get you guys to where it is for all the things, man. Gosh, so much. I honestly, Katie, when I was talking to folks, I was just like, I feel like Showrunner was really developed to just be every episode a mini series, like a mini masterclass of just here's everything that's been in my brain, and have at it. For those of you that have been following along, like you're going to do so well. And if you have any questions, honestly, feel free to reach out. For For those of you that have just been like dabbled in it, no, seriously, I throw everything at you. It's like a book in the making, seriously.
Yep.
So, having said that, I'm going to give a quick shout out to Katie. You've been absolutely amazing. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to live stream on all of your channels and share all the wonderful things. Caleb, who is always in the comments ferociously typing and and all the last minute asset requests and building all this other stuff. Shout out to Bradley Vincent as well as Alicia Way, who created graphics, man, all the things. Super talented. Again, the Ecamm fam community, you guys are the best. Hold up. I think Katie's saying, wait, Stephanie. Did you want something, Caleb? Did you want something?
Are we missing something? I'm looking at the comments. Wait. Oh, refresh. He's added a link to the blog. We're good now, guys. Just go to the show.
Oh, now there's a link to the blog. Okay, let's see.
I love it. We'll have to refresh.
Oh, I'll have to refresh the page. That's what he's saying. Cool. All right. Read the show notes.
Read the show notes. There we go, guys.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can skip
there we
it
go. Over to the blog. Woohoo!
Way to go, Caleb. You're the best. All right, if any of you are having any issues getting what it is that you need from the landing pages, Caleb, like I said, he's in the comments. He'll figure it out. I think sometimes it's like the autofill gets funky.
Yeah.
But that's that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you everyone so much. Check out the other shows that we have on here. You've got, my gosh, I'm going to go back. You've got Luria's show, Go Live Now. And then we have the Podcaster Hour, Ian Anderson Gray, the Final Cut. And then you've got the Sunday one, right? Is the Sunday one still running?
We have a bunch of shows that we sponsor that are running on other channels, and then the shows that are on our channel are Go Live Now, Podcaster Hour, Event Stream is on our channel. There's a bunch, and we're heading into the summer, so we're making a bunch of different kind of tweaks and starting to build out some additional video on demand as well as live stream shows. So, hey, Shelly!
Alrighty, friends. Okay.
Bye,
We'll catch
everyone.
you later. Take care. Bye for now. Oh, we'll do the credits. You can dance with me towards the end.
Let's roll the credits.
I've been waiting for this.
Get in here.
Yeah.
It's our new
Been
gift.
up on my mind. Oh, it's hard to resist. Feeling like one of a kind. Oh, now the hard time's over. I'm for a moment. I won't look back now.
Everyone.
And it's moving closer. I can feel it coming. Oh, now it's my time now. When I look back, it's like it's another game that I'm playing now. 'Cause it's fun.